Shame, y'all. You didn't get to see my countdown, my 10-second countdown that I just gave to Matt Scalisi here from AL.com as we are getting ready for week one of the SEC college football season. You can see it on my face. I'm excited. You can see it on my shirt. I'm excited. 'Tis the season. What's up, Matty Ice? You pumped up right now?
Look, I'm not a big morning guy, but I got up this morning. I made a huge breakfast. I got coffee going. I'm ready to do a morning kickoff of SEC football, and I'm just ready to do something that feels remotely normal again, Lauren. And I hate that we can't all be there today, but I feel like we're still going to all have a lot of fun.
I agree with you. Super excited about it. So obviously on game days, we're going to try to do this pregame show, for the Auburn Tigers as they get ready for their matchup. So week one for Auburn at home against Kentucky and Jordan-Hare Stadium. And just 3 points of emphasis here, and we'll start off the top. One thing that you, Matt, are the most excited to see today from Auburn.
I'm excited to see any football from Auburn today, but to pick one thing, I mean, I think we've all been waiting all offseason to see, what the Chad Morris offense is going to look like at Auburn. I think we all have kind of a basic idea, and we felt like this was going to be a really good fit for what Gus Malzahn does. But I think we know that Auburn has so many good pieces of offense returning, and I'm really excited to see what that looks like in the hands of Chad Morris, in the hands of somebody that we all feel like will kind of be in sync with Gus strategically. So I'm expecting this to really benefit Bo Nix and the receivers particularly. And I'm just kind of excited to see what it actually looks like in practice.
Yeah. So, and I've talked about this earlier in the week, but just kind of letting everyone know, we as media members have not even been inside of a practice this offseason or this fall camp. So, of course, it's usually 20 minutes of stretching. I always joke about that. Man, that's some really good stretching y'all got going on there. But like you, I'm anxious to just get eyes on these guys. I'm anxious to just see what they look like, see what this 2020 football team looks like for Auburn. And I'll go to the defensive side of the football. When you talk about a guy like Kevin Steele, he had to do it a year ago. He has to do it again. It's sort of the reset. He loses a lot of guys. Obviously, the draft class was through the roof for them with Marlon Davidson, Derek Brown, Noah Igbenogany, you name it. So I think I'm anxious to see who some of the big playmakers are going to be that can step up and be disruptive, especially to the quarterback on the Kentucky side of the football. I think that's going to be a big one. Terry Wilson comes back for the first time since injury. So I think that's going to be a fun matchup to watch. How disruptive can this defense be? And then that begs the question, my next question for you, the biggest challenge that Kentucky poses. And Matt, I'll start with this one just kind of off the top. I think that number one, Kentucky has a very strong defense. And then on the flip side of that, their offensive line it is tremendous. They have a really good offensive line. They have a strong offensive line. So I'm anxious to see sort of how that matchup plays out with that defense. What Kevin Steele brings back. And then, of course, having Terry Wilson back, that's going to be something I'm anxious to see. Has he been able to kick the rust off? Is he going to be sort of that mobile quarterback and be able to step up and obviously get some explosive plays down the field? I think it's going to be a good game for Auburn. I think this is a good barometer game for the Auburn Tigers to sort of see where they match up in 2020.
Yeah, it's tough. I find myself being susceptible to the thing that I always tell people not to do, which is don't judge based on what you saw in the bowl game last year. It's usually a really bad indicator. But Auburn got pushed around in that bowl game, and while I normally wouldn't focus too heavily on that, I think the fact that they were missing some of those key pieces up front defensively in that game might have been a little bit of a preview of what we're going to be seeing at least early from Auburn until they can adjust and get those new guys comfortable in their roles. On the other side, Kentucky was really physically dominant in the postseason, and kind of as they ramped up towards the end of the season, they looked that way. And that's kind of, if you're somebody who's excited about seeing Kentucky out of their norm, out of what we're used to seeing over the many years of SEC football, that's exciting because we're not used to hearing that Kentucky can compete physically in the trenches. So I think you're definitely on there. I'm excited to see how Auburn's new defensive front holds up against what we're expecting to be a really physical Kentucky offense.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Again, I think this is going to be a good matchup, a close matchup. And so I want to get a prediction from you. We'll stay away from the scores. I gave my score earlier this week on our head-to-head with Cole Kublik. I think my score prediction was 27-24 Auburn. So, of course, leaning in favor of Auburn. I thought that would do a good one. And speaking of Cole Kublik, he will be on the call, 11 a.m. kickoff in Jordan-Hare Stadium on SEC Network. So excited to check that out. Cole's been working with us for a long time, and appreciate his analysis. So,
we love
prediction
Cole.
from you. We love Cole. Cole brings it in the trenches, baby.
That's
Let's
right.
go. So bold prediction from you. What is one thing that you are predicting for this matchup as Auburn comes out of the gates?
I think Auburn's secondary is going to make some really big plays that will put them in a position to win this game. I think out of everything we're excited about for this game, that's really going to be a unit that I think will win football games for Auburn this year. When the going gets tough and they're in close games, I think having some experienced guys back there is going to make a difference for Auburn when they need it the most. And if they can create some turnovers and some big plays against a Kentucky offense that really, again, not necessarily an offense that's going to be explosive and can score on any given play, but they're enough that they can keep themselves in the game for 60 minutes against Auburn. Having the opportunity to get a turnover, to steal a possession away, is huge against a team like Kentucky. And I think Auburn's secondary is going to be the ones that we have to look to today to see if they can win this thing for Auburn.
I think that is a great prediction. And I was kind of leaning in that direction, but Matt, I'll go in another direction. My bold prediction is that Chad Morris is going to call the plays this season. Is that a good prediction or what? Hey, I know
it's actually
obvious.
It's not as obvious as we might think it is to a lot of fans, because people are wondering how it's exactly going to work. No matter what Gus says,
that's right.
We never really know until they get into a close game who's making the calls when it matters the most. So I actually think that is a bold prediction, Lauren.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, so, I really think that this has been an interesting season for Gus Malzahn. You bring in a guy like Chad Morris, someone that has been known to really develop quarterbacks. And I really think that this season, if there's any season for this to be done, I think this is a great opportunity for Chad Morris to kind of come in and put his thumbprint, his fingerprint, whatever you want to call it, on this offense, which I think can pay dividends, and we've seen this happen before, this dynamic with Coach Malzahn, with the offensive coordinators, a lot of back and forth kind of deciding who's going to actually call the plays. And so that will be my bold prediction. I'll stick with it, Matt. I feel good about it. I got your blessing on it. I feel good about it. So that's all that matters.
Nobody wants that. That is the ultimate curse, is to have Matt Scalisi's blessing on a prediction. That usually means it's not going to go well, but we'll see.
It's not going to go well. We'll see. Hey, I love it. Good stuff. Definitely looking forward to this. Do you have, I know just from a score standpoint, do you kind of have an idea of what the scoring is going to look like? Like I said, I'm kind of thinking in the 27-24 range, Auburn winning, but in a pretty big fourth quarter, 4 quarters of competition between both teams.
I like that thinking. I think that it's probably going to be a pretty ugly halftime score. Because I see slow starts coming for everybody. And we've seen that around college football.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
It's just been such a weird offseason. Nobody's going to come out firing on all cylinders in game one. But I do think that these are two very talented offenses. I think both of these teams are going to have opportunities to score. And I think once they find their rhythm, like you said, maybe later in the second half, we could see some fireworks start to happen.
Yeah, I'd say we're going to see a little bit more scoring in the second half. And look, Matt, I've covered 4 games thus far, and you're exactly right. A lot of these coaches, and even just talking to them as they're coming out of the gates, Skip Holtz, Louisiana Tech, said, I don't even know my football team. And you got to imagine a lot of coaches are feeling some of the same, depending on how bad the COVID cases have been, the injuries obviously coming back, moving guys around, depth chart. You name it. There's a lot.
And we know that's hit Auburn pretty hard. We know that Auburn's been without quite a few players throughout fall camp here due to COVID. So it may slow Auburn down a little bit more than others. But now that everybody is relatively healthy and back again, I think Auburn has a real opportunity to do what we've seen a lot of Gus Malzahn teams do over the years, which is they might start off looking a little sluggish, but if they can survive some early challenges, Auburn teams tend to grow and get better under Gus Malzahn over the course of the season, as long as everybody stays healthy. So I'm expecting to see that once again.
Good stuff. Good insight, Matt. Appreciate it. Looking forward to this one. Of course, we'll check back in after the Auburn Tigers kick off against Kentucky. We'll have a post-game show for you. So tune back in here to Facebook, YouTube, you name it. We'll be